Tell us the story.
Yeah.
Because that's we wanted to do the tattoos, but we also wanted to talk about your return to your homelands, which was even more specific than I think you thought it was going to be. Like those were your name was recognized.
Yeah, I didn't know. So I signed up for a university course, self-determination with H.E.A.L University Centers for Research and Learning. This is a land-based university. We're starting to see that a little bit more. It's really exciting to seeing land-based learning, what that means. No papers involved. No quizzes involved.
Which gets my attention. No,
we're really centering the land. Yes, the land as teacher, the elders as the teachers, the animals as the teachers. You would love it. Oh my gosh. So I got accepted. This was last year. High anxiety. Now I'm leaving my kids for 2 weeks. I could have taken them with me. So H.E.A.L is amazing at including everybody. They don't just, it's like counseling. They're not just counseling one person. You're not just teaching one person. You're actually teaching a whole unit. Same as healing. When you heal one person, you're actually healing a whole unit. So I got accepted. However, I knew for me to go to my homelands that I needed to go by myself. I really wanted to be able to focus and just to really be present and not be distracted by the needs of my kids. I will take them. I'm going to take them. We are going to go back as a family. However, this specific time I had the opportunity to go. So I took that opportunity. So I arrive in Inuk, and it was really funny. I texted my mom. I was like, okay, I'm in Inuk, and the fog had rolled in, and it gets really foggy there. It's actually really beautiful. I really love it. This sort of like misty fog coming off the Mackenzie Delta, and it's covering the tundra and that. So I spent a night there. And it didn't get dark, right? It doesn't get dark till it only got about twilight, I don't know, around 1 a.m. or so. And then so the sun comes down, then just comes right back up again. So I was there kind of end of summer. So the next morning after spending the night in Inuk, we drive up to Tuk. Now I'm really getting into it. I love Tuk so much. I just immediately was connected to this place. Oh, it was profound for me. I wasn't able...
There's like a familiarity to it, or like what would you...
I can't describe it. It was like what I mentioned before about missing places that you had never been. It was like I finally got to that place.
Okay.
I was smelling things, smelling the Beaufort Sea.
Right.
The land, there's pingus. So Tuk is known for the pingus.
Okay.
Pingos. Is it pingo or pingos? They're like frost heaves from and they create these little tiny bumps on the tundra, and they're it's quite beautiful. My grandfather's whaling schooner is in Tuk. You can go walk right up to it and you can go see it. So that was profound. Obviously, I'm right by my grandfather's schooner. I never got to meet my grandfather because he passed away when my mom was really young. So that was a profound loss for her. He was an Alaskan whaler. So during that whaling period, they were coming over into Inuvialuit territory because the whales were bountiful in our territory. So now we're taking a boat and we're heading out onto the ocean. I knew that we were going to go out on the land somewhere. I didn't realize that we were going to be taking a really long boat ride, though. I was like, oh, okay. I loved it. I mean, there was 2 boats. There was a whole bunch of us. I immediately sort of made a connection with one of the other mothers right away. It was all women, mind you. All the students were Inuvialuit women. Yes.
Wow.
Most everybody brought their kids with them. I think I was the only one who didn't bring my kids. There was actually another student who didn't have kids who was there. So there's a lot of kids. So we had 2 boats. And we're going out onto the ocean. We're cutting across, and it was amazing. I was excited, but I was really nervous. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know. I had a lot of anxiety leaving my kids behind. Sure. So I was a bit anxious about a few things. We get to the beach and there's an elder comes down to the shore, and he actually approached me fairly early on, quite within the first half hour at least. And he said to me, he introduced himself as my family member. So obviously he knew that there was a Thrasher coming. So somebody with the last name of Thrasher. My mom's maiden name is, given name. Sorry, Julia Thrasher is my mom. Yeah. And you got to remember at this time period, names were being given out by the missionaries. So my mom actually doesn't know her Inuvialuktun name. My grandmother often assigned names. You would say like Banika Laluya. Banika is like my daughter in our language. So she would like assign different ones to each child. So anyways, Thrasher, just for a little bit of historical context, my grandfather was born on the Thrasher whaling schooner. So this would have been late 1800s. There was a whaling schooner in Alaska called the Thrasher. It sank by the Aleutian Islands, and the missionaries named him after the whaling schooner. There's actually a whaling ship. So that's where the name Thrasher comes from. So our name is quite well known up in the north. So going back, the elder approaches me and he introduces himself as like, he must have been like a cousin.
Was he a Thrasher?
No, his last name is Felix, but we're related to the Felixes. So, but somehow he was a relative of my grandfather. And so my mom and my uncle are actually his uncle, even though he's like the same age as them, and my could be my uncle, right? Very confusing. So he introduces me and then points over to my uncle's fishing cabin that's on this beach that we're now at. And I said, wait, that's my uncle's cabin over there? And all of a sudden, all the information is just coming so fast. I'm realizing that I am literally on my family's fish camp. And that the smoke shack was my family built that. It was phenomenal.
What a shocker.
So I was trying to absorb all that. So I unpacked my bags, and I noticed we were right on the beach, but then the tundra was right up there, and I was like, I have to go. So I went right up onto the tundra right away, and I started berry picking. A couple of us joined together. There was another woman who had her little girl with her. We were so close. Me and this little girl, she took a shining to me, and we collected rocks together and opened our own little tiny rock shop on the beach. This little Inuk girl, she was just so sweet. So we went up and we started picking berries, and I was just, the berries taste different up there than they do. I noticed that right away. They're not as sweet as the ones down here. They're smaller, of course. But they are plentiful. The whole ground is just covered in berries. It was so beautiful. So I'm trying to absorb this. I'm on my family's fish camp. Like a couple of days ago, here I am down in Secwepemc territory. Now I'm up in my family's fish camp. So there's this beautiful little bay, a tiny little sort of bay that comes in, and that's where we would set the nets right across here, because the fish come into shallow waters to take a break from the beluga and seal and all that. So they just come in big schools, and we were catching the fish. And we were working on hides. We were learning how to build our traditional sod house. Deshinta University is great. So we were working on the hides the one day. We had 3 different moose hides. So we're all sitting in our own groups, and boats were coming almost every day to visit. There'd be different elders, different people from around the area just popping in to come have a cup of tea. And these elders were sitting at the other hide, and they kept on looking over at me. And then I saw the one sort of elbow one of the other girls and say, sort of like, who's this over there? They were asking her, who's that? And then she said, heard her say, Thrasher. And all of a sudden, both of their heads, they turned up. They popped up from the hide, and they were like, oh, right away they wanted to know who my mother was, which Thrasher, who your Thrasher, who's your parents. So a lot of times in Indigenous communities, they ask, who is your mother? Who's your father? Who's your grandparents? Who are you? Which one are you attached to? And so that's how we identify each other. So right away, they wanted to talk to me. Yeah, they went, they knew all of my aunties. So my mom is actually the baby. My mom is the youngest one of Billy Thrasher, had 21 kids. So my mom is actually she's the youngest one. Her and my uncle are the youngest ones, and they're the last ones left.
I'm just a little stuck on the 21 kids.
I mean, they were cold winters up north, so yes. So he was a busy man. Okay, but it was incredible. Right away, they recognized me by my family's name, and that was profound to me. That never happened to me before. I think I talked a little bit about it last week when we talked, but I had never experienced that. No place of being just by your name. So down here, I don't get that experience because I'm not from here. These are not my homelands. So that was special to me. That was special to be recognized.
Strengthening, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So like I finished last week, I just get to be. Right. I was accepted into that right away, that community right away, just because they knew who my family was. That's profound. And I'm really lucky to have that. So a lot of folks don't have that. So I feel blessed that I have that. At least I have that. And it grounds me.
Yeah. And again, I'm connecting it to a sense of resilience that identity would give one. You carry that sense with you everywhere you go now.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. It helps ground me in who I am, and I can tell my kids who we are. I'm able to tell. Yeah. So, a lot of our identities were disrupted. So it was quite prolific all across the board. This was happening with Indigenous folks all over. So I understand that there's people still trying to connect to their identity, and it's difficult. Yeah. But at least I have that. I have that story. Yeah. I have that place of being. I can say this is actually where our family fished and hunted, where they cut the fish up and where they hang them in the smokehouse, dry them in the wind, put them back into the smoke shack.
Yeah. Won't it be neat to go back with your boys?
I'm gonna. I am.
It'll be really neat.
Yeah. 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 Life in the North is different. So it's easy to romanticize it. It is. And I do it every day. I romanticize it a bit, but I understand the deep social struggles that Inuit have. So we have this whole other layer that most Canadians just don't even think about. So I do work for several other consultation, just trying to highlight Inuit perspective. Yeah, because it's different. Yeah.
That's great. That's what we set out to do, is to connect how culture as treatment and how it strengthens the same thing. Because when you transfer things into the counseling space, it's far less organic. And, we can talk about identity and we can talk about those kind of things, and that can be part of it. But the tattoos and the connection to the land and the harvesting were the things that really
when I started cutting the fish, that was my favorite job. I cried when I cut the first fish. So I brought you the different uluit last week, and I showed you which ones. There was the one that was actually a Klavavik, made in a Klavavik. That was the one that, for me, when I was cutting the fish, I could feel the blade sliding over the ribs of the fish, and I felt it, and I was like, oh, that's what it was supposed to feel like. You can feel it in your hands, and you can feel the little ribs going over the blade, and you're like, this is it. This is it. That was the job. And I really, I had shivers because I was like, this is my job, is cutting fish.
You experienced it somatically. So it's that connecting that. And my little psychology brain is going right into what that's doing to your nervous system. So you're not only having this kind of head knowledge of who you are, now it's transferring, to all your and integrating your sense of self into your body. And I can think of, often what we finally get to in books, you're like, oh yeah, that's how we were created to be. You know,
Yeah.
that was how it was created to work.
Yeah.
And then finally, you know, we find it in a book, and we're like, oh yeah, that's
it reaffirms what
it reaffirms what you already are experiencing. And that's neat.
It was like memory that was within, right? It was like a sleep.
Yeah.
And then it woke up, and then I woke up, and I was like, I've always loved fish, right? Like my mom and I we were always, ikaluk, you know, we eat the fish, right? We love it. Yeah. But that feeling, I was like, oh yes, this was a powerful moment. Okay. So working on hides is hard work. And one of the students at H.E.A.L, I believe it was, I think I know where it comes from, so I can cite it right now. It was Glenn Coulthard who said, as much as you work on the hides, something along this lines, he said, when you work on the hides also work on you.
Wow.
So that was also profound, because me and my one girlfriend were among the physically stronger ones. So we were the ones who ended up working on the hides. Yeah. Because we had the upper arm strength for it, because it's a lot of work. Yeah. And I tended to this hide, and I fought with it sometimes. It was really difficult. Yeah. Moose hide is crazy thick. Yeah. It was really hard, but it was fun. And we made powerful connections too. So one of the students who I connected with deeply in camp, we're actually at the same university now, studying the same, Indigenous governance.
I love that. And that's kind of a good, to connect the culture to the treatment too, is as much as you work on the hides, they work on you. I love that.
It is. It's beautiful. And the laughter that would come from that, like the that building with community, and just it's unbelievable how much Native people love to laugh. Like we tend to use that because we've gone through so much that we just, at the end of the day, we always need to just have a good laugh. Yeah. So sometimes, like, I laugh with my mom, even my kids. I'm like, how come Native people can never stay serious? Something happens in the news or something that's profound and affects our community somehow, and immediately all the jokes start coming out, and I love it, because it's a way for us to move through it. We're like, the things are like so crazy. We just have to have a laugh about it. Yeah. So I love that we're touching on land and culture as treatment. This is really powerful stuff. I don't want to move away from that, because that really centers healing, Indigenous people's healing. And I do believe that non-Indigenous people and counselors can assist in that. They can make space for that.
That's a hopeful start. And I like that it's culture as treatment. Yeah. Whereas I know in my research, there was a strong base for incorporating culture into treatment, or adding culture into, or understanding culture during treatment. Right. Whereas this is like, it's the whole shebang.
It's deeply embedded. It's all of it. It's just like land is everything. The land is never far into your peripheral at all. It's you are the land. We are the land. It's not just Indigenous people who have been dispossessed from their relationship with the land. It is everybody all across the globe.
Which is the idea we started with too, is that, that displacement and that disconnection is costing us all.
Oh, completely. And I don't just center it just for Native folks. It's like, no, like a lot of people have forgotten. They forgot the old ways. They forgot. The land hasn't forgotten them, but they have forgotten the old ways, whatever traditions or cultures their families had carried on to care for the land. You care for those places that provide for you.
The land remembers your feet.
Yeah, that's
and my now is when you work on the hides work on you.
Yes, that one. I believe that's Glenn Coulthard. I'll reaffirm that, but I believe it was Glenn Coulthard that said that. Yeah.
Well, maybe that's a good place to wrap up. Is there anything else you want to add?
I mean, it was another great conversation. And I just love the. We're organic here, and I just feel comfortable talking with you.
Yeah, good. Yeah, me too. I don't know, there's chemistry there or something. We can just talk.
I feel like we could probably go off a fair bit more.
Yeah, we could. We're being quite contained.
Yeah, we did. Yeah,
we're
doing
here.
Good. Yeah,
yeah, we are in good behavior because we have. We could just talk family and kids.
We could. Yeah.
So,
but we're both busy ladies, so we got stuff to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, really wonderful, Jolene.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you. Okay.